Can y'all hear Chloe outside barking? Can anybody hear me? Hello? I see. All right, there seems to be a little bit of a lag between me and the computer here. All right, who can see me now? Maybe. Can y'all see me? Can you hear me? I can see you, you can hear me. All right, Clifton, thank you. I got a laptop here that's not acting right. Okay, I think that's it. All right, hey, thanks for coming out, fellas. Hey, and I appreciate all the well wishers for the hurricane. I appreciate that. It did not come anywhere near me. It hadn't even rained. It was actually headed right for us in the first spaghetti models, you know, where they just throw spaghetti down and nobody knows where it's going. When they got the cone of destiny, we were right in the middle of it. And so that's just funny to say, sorry. But it took a hard right, and it went through Central Florida. So I didn't see anything of it. So I was thankful for that. Sorry for them, but thankful not to have had any problems with it. They I don't know if you've ever been through a hurricane before, but they're scared. It's a twist between a flood, or a combination between a flood and a tornado, and it's a bad combination. We got a lot of people in here. Mojo Moto, that's the first time I've seen that name. How you doing, sir? Welcome to the channel. We got some regulars in here. Pat in the bunker, Kane beeping. Everybody say hi to Preston. He's here for the Southern Charm, he says. See, Pat already did it. So what are y'all working on? Anything? Well, if y'all looked at the thumbnail, that's actually the newest 350X. So me too, Patrick. Me too. We got it up, got it running last night, took it for the first ride. So that's going to be Sunday's video, is basically the combination of all of that work. I'm not going to bore y'all with every detail. There's about 3 hours of footage. And so we're going to cut that down to about 25, 28 minutes and post it for you. But it turned out really good. It really did. If you follow on Instagram or Facebook, you'll see I ended up putting a piston in it. And I went with a Wiseco 10-to-1 or 10 1/4 to 1 piston. So that's pretty cool. Pat's working on a 200M 72 CL 100. That's a motorcycle, right? Kane? 200S for Clifton. I haven't had a 200S in a while. I've had 4 or 5 of them probably over the years, but I like the 200S. 83, 80, yeah, 83 probably. Oh, I see, Patrick. Yeah, well, that's the one that was in the thumbnail of this video. I got that motor back together finally and put in the frame for the last time, and it's up and running now. So it's still a little hard to crank. I think I need to work on the carburetor a little bit, but it runs and rides. And Brian, you went back to Wisconsin. That's you must really like the snow. 84 and 85 Big Reds. There you go. That's both models there, the 200 and the 250. Honda ATC Garage. No, I have two 350Xs and 250R behind me. Hello, Yellowbeard. I think you were here last time we did one of these lives. Yeah, Honda ATC Garage. I've got two, both 85s. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do one all red, so they look different. And the first one I got has got the white fenders already on it, so it's camouflaged, I guess, or it's pretending to look like an 86. So I'm going to let it look like an 86, and then the one I just got, I'm going to make it all red, blue seat, blue porticles or fork boots, and so that way at least they'll look distinguishably different. Oh, good thing. So let's see. T-Rex Jeff, maybe? JFF. He had a clutch problem on his SX, but he got it figured out. So that's always good. I hear more and more often that nobody wants to work on three-wheelers. They just refuse them at the door. You call and ask. So that's really a big part of why I'm doing the videos, to try to help y'all figure out how to fix them. And I learn a ton off of YouTube. YouTube to me it's been an encyclopedia. I used to watch Harvey Spooner and still do a lot. And the way he explains things about electronics, CDIs and things like that is just very easy to follow. And so I think giving back to the YouTube community, which is giving back to, to everybody, is certainly beneficial for us all. I'm not the type of person that can just read a book and understand it. I like to see it, maybe have it explained to me. Once I get my hands on something, take it apart and put it back together, I'm pretty good. I don't really forget it, but I'm not a textbook learner. And a lot of mechanics aren't. That's kind of two things that don't necessarily go together. People that are really good with their hands, whether it be artistic or mechanical, they're generally not book type, educated type people. They're more hands-on type people. So, yeah, Harvey is great. I've been watching Harvey for 10 years or better, long before I ever considered starting a channel. But anytime I would run into a problem with something I've never known, I'd go to YouTube and I'd look it up, or I'd do a Google search, but YouTube would come up. And it was, I remember one time I had to put a headlight in a 2006 Cadillac. And I mean, how hard can that be, right? And the dealer wanted like $700 to put a headlight in a Cadillac car. I said, there's just no way. There's no way we're paying $700 for a headlight. He must have misunderstood. Maybe he thought we needed a front end or something. And so I ended up going to YouTube and I watched a fella put a headlight in the Cadillac, and he ended up taking the inner fender out and the grill and the front end, and then he ended up pulling the battery out of it. And it was a job. It took me probably 3 hours to put a headlight in that car. And that was after watching the fella do it. So I can see why they charge that much. I don't understand why the engineers let that fly. They could have cut a hole with an access door behind that headlight, and you could have just, opened the door and changed the headlight out, but they couldn't do that. So anyways. Trying to read and get caught up. Yeah, hands-on is just, I've always been that way. I've never let really anything get in my way. If I could put my hands on it, I'd try to figure it out before I could say, no, I can't do that. $350X is, I'm responding to Honda ATC Garage. That's his dream three-wheeler. I looked across mine. I paid too much for what it was, but it was the only one I had seen come up for sale ever, and so I bought it. I couldn't let it go by. And sometimes you just have to do that. Sometimes you just have to step up. I'm not saying it was the right financial decision, but if I wanted one, that was the one I was going to have to get. And so I got it. Now finding the second one, this one actually kind of found me through YouTube. A follower or subscriber, he reached out to me. We were able to work out a deal, and that's how I came up with the second one. But the first one is the only one I've ever had come up of for sale in probably an hour radius of me. Yeah, I could have drove across the state and got one, but I just don't have that kind of time to do that. Yeah, street legal three wheelers. That's interesting. That depends on the state you're in, Patrick. I see you're telling me that there is one for sale. That would be pretty interesting. Now we have titled machines in Florida, but they are not street legal. Um, every state's different. I know, like Alaska, you can put anything on the street up there, but there's other states. Montana, I think you can put three wheelers on the street. Now that they're taking motorcycles that are could be street legal, like an enduro, and converting it to a three wheeler, that really opens things up. But I don't know. You're gonna have to. That's the slippery slope. I don't know if Preston's got a Gonki or Goki or not. He should still be here. There he is. Now Preston's his machine of choice is a 350X. I'm getting into the 250R. That was always my dream bike, was to get the 250R. I never had one. I'd seen them. I had heard about them, but I'd never ridden one. And to run across one, again, these things. I don't want to use that R word that people throw around, but when you come across one, if you have any thought that you want it, you better get it. They're just not as they're just not that plentiful in certain parts of the country. Now I'm learning that up north you can find them on a regular basis, but here in the South that's not the case. Trying to read here. Yeah, if you can get it back past DMV, you could probably go under the guise of home built nowadays. There's people that don't even know three wheelers exist, and you could probably go in with a home built design or sketch or something like that, and you may slip it past DMV, and if you did that, that would be all well and good. But now every cop on the street that sees you is not going to think that you got that past DMV. And so now you've got to educate them one at a time. So good luck with that. That would be pretty fun. I had a guy message me on Instagram. He has street tires on his. It's a 200X, and he rides it daily. He said back and forth to work. That's his commuter vehicle. He didn't tell me what state he lived in. He didn't even tell me what country he lived in. But I thought that was pretty interesting. He was looking for some information on a 200X. Yeah, bow hunting 101. That where I live, they're allowing golf carts on the street. You have to use hand signals, and they have to keep them, I think, below 25 miles an hour, which for a golf cart, that's not that hard. They're generally governed at about 12 or 18 miles per hour. But what's the difference between a gas powered golf cart that you've kept slow? Because mine, I do more than that. I've got a Yamaha in here. Don't tell anybody. Uh, I put a different carb on it, different intake on it, took the governor off of it, and they clocked me at 26. So it'll move. That's double what it was when it was sold new. But really, what's the difference between a gas powered golf cart and a gas powered three wheeler? If you use hand signals, I could see making an argument for that. But legislation like it is, nobody's going to fight for you on that front. It's going to be you versus them. Brian DeLoda, hope I said that right, buddy. Remedy for a hard start ATC in the winter. All of them. Okay. Well, you might could change up your timing a little bit depending on what you have. You're not giving me a lot to work with. If you've got like a 200cc, a 185S or a 200S, 200 ES. You could advance the timing just a little bit. Take your the little black box in the top of your where your rotor is, the top of that engine. You could loosen those two screws and advance it. You would want to take it counterclockwise. No, excuse me, clockwise, just a degree or two. You could probably advance the timing a little bit on it. That would probably help. You may want to check the grade of fuel you're using. You may want to go to a high test in cold temperatures. I wouldn't be surprised that gas isn't different in very cold, in colder climates versus hotter climates. Uh, some of y'all know, and some of you don't know, that gasoline, depending on where it's sold, is actually has a different mix or blend. And so you also have a summer blend and a winter blend. And you may want to look at getting a higher test winter blend for your machine, advance the timing just a little bit and go from there and see if and do one of those things at a time and see what works out best for you. Okay, Yellowbeard wants to do a 3 to 2 wheel conversion. It can be done. It can be done a lot like a Fat Cat. A lot of guys use a jack shaft out of a BW 200, which is a Yamaha setup, but build something like that to keep the back tire, the fat back tire. You're gonna have to set a jack shaft up to kick the chain out far enough. If you'll follow, go on YouTube and look up Bigfoot Bikes and Brews. He is making an entire channel of converting 3-wheelers to 2-wheelers. And he kind of follows that form. It's a proven uh, format, if you will, or design. There's no point reinventing the wheel. There was a couple other guys that did it. They had a jack shaft way up underneath the seat, and then came down to the tire. I think they got a little complicated with that. What Bigfoot Bikes and Brews does, his pivot for the rear swing arm actually does double duty as the jack shaft. And so he's got one shaft to really worry about. The angle never changes. The relationship of the chain from sprocket to sprocket never changes. It's always the same. So therefore, you don't have to worry about the chain coming off or. Okay, well, missile engineering kit. Yeah, that's two. I thought you were going to make one. But yeah, if you can find one of those. Now, Lou Botello of King of the Hill on Facebook, he was talking about he knew someone that was working on missile kits to re-enter them into the market. I don't know if that ever came to fruition or not, but he was working on it. So there are guys out there talking about it. Every now and then you'll see one come up, a missile kit, installed on a machine, but not that often. I don't know how it would ride. I really don't. With the fat tire, I just don't know how that would handle, because when you go to roll into a corner, you're going to roll up on that wider tire. And so it's good. Internet. My internet on my laptop. So I'm trying to pace myself between the camera on my phone and the laptop here. That's a good idea, Pat. Seafoam is a great product. I've used it for years. I like Seafoam, and I like Marvel's Mystery Oil. Now that's a family secret. My uncles taught me to always use Marvel's Mystery Oil, and I use it a lot. Yeah, I'm still here. I'm not going anywhere, guys. So if my internet does drop, just bear with me. I'll be back. Steve Moss wants to know if you can add rear suspension to a 185S, and yes, you can. And it was actually quite common back in the day. There was a lot of racers when ATVs first come out, and this is just history I've read. Guys, the first thing they were really trying to do was race them, and of course, suspension helps with all of that. Because you can put there were kits made. Preston actually has a Bandito frame, which is a company that actually had a suspended, if I'm not mistaken, if he's still here, he can correct me. My understanding of the Bandito frame was a fully suspended frame that you would buy, and then you would take your 185S apart and apply the engine and you know, a lot of other parts onto the Bandito frame and have a fully suspended machine. But there were also companies that you could buy just the rear suspension. You would weld on the brackets, you would basically right underneath the seat, they would put a cross member, and then your shock would mount there. But it is very common. If you have a 185, let's see, if you have an A3, Steve, you've already got the suspension. But yeah, a common upgrade, Steve, to put suspension underneath your 185S. But you could do that under a 200. Anything that was chain drive would be relatively simple. Thank you, Preston. Preston says the Bandito was a 90s frame. My mistake. Yeah, y'all want that accurate history. Y'all look at Preston. He is the encyclopedia on ATCs there. All right, well, I'm going to go get my little one. She's going to come out and help us do this drawing. I know that's why y'all are here. We're welcome to hang out afterwards, but I'd hate to lose the internet connection and you know, feel like you missed something. So let me go get her. I'll be right back. I'll introduce you and we'll get started. All right, guys. So what I did is I took everybody's name and I stuck it in this bucket, and we're just going to shake it up, and whatever name she pulls out is going to win the tires. And so you've got to be able to be delivered from Amazon. Factory size tires, 3 tires. They're on me. I'm going to drop ship them. Once whoever wins, let's do a private message so I can get your address if I don't already have it, and tell me what sizes you need or want. Okay, you all ready? I'm gonna wait till somebody says they're ready before we do this. There we go. Pat's ready. All right. Come on, they can see you. All right, here we go. Just one name. I'm not looking. All right. We got one piece of paper here. Clifton Veazey. You have just won free tires. 3 of them on me. Are you here? All right, I've got Clifton's contact information if he's not here, and we'll reach out to him and get him his tires sent off. Now, y'all that are members that were entered in this, I should have your home address, so you should have your stickers by now, except for a couple people that just joined the last day or so. But if I don't, if you haven't received them, please let me know so I can get them out to you. Clifton Veazey. How about that? Well, I was hoping he's going to be here, or the winner, whoever. All right, Bohan, thanks for joining us. I appreciate it. There he is. Hey, Clifton. Congratulations, sir. Well, you got to tell us what you're working on. What do you need tires for, Clifton? Pat's not happy about that. Sorry, Pat. Yes, sir, you won. Clifton's working on an 84 200S. All right, so you got front suspension. We were just talking about that. That's a solid machine, Clifton. 84, that's 85 was the last year, isn't that right, Preston? '84 would have 22-inch tires on that machine, I think. Jared, 250R content. Yeah, I got to get back on that. I've got this 350X up and going now, and well, I'm glad it did. That's nice, Clifton. 86 was the last year. All right, 22 by 11 by 8. Okay. I'd like to get on the 250R soon. It needs so much. It really does. When you get them up and running, you know, I hate to tear them back apart. It's because you know they're going to be down for a while. I don't know. I need to do the front forks on it. I need to get some plastic fenders for it. I need to get some headlights. Now, I'm going to make Preston really mad, but I'll show y'all something. Check this out. Now, I've been kicking this idea around. Can y'all see that? Y'all probably can't see that. All right. So I'm thinking about this. They're a little big. These are 7s. I really wanted 6s, but they don't make them. I thought 5s would be too small. So I'm working on the charging system right now to figure out what it's going to take to power them. I don't think the 250R has. Yeah, I like the Baja look too. That's where I'm headed with it. I've got some rebar. Yeah, you don't like that, did you, Preston? Sorry. I picked up some round bar the other day, but it was too small. It was 1/4 inch, and it just didn't have the heft that it needed for the look. And so I'm going to probably find something a little bit bigger than that. See you, Kane. Thanks for coming by. Yeah, that would work, and it would certainly scare the deer, Brian. I may just do one. I don't know. I like the Baja look. I read an article about an 85 that was entered in the actual Baja. It competed. It won not only its class, I want to say, and I may misquote here, it beat out several other classes in the Baja in 85. And the guys that had it, they ended up outlawing or banning the 3-wheeler from the Baja. And to my knowledge, a 3-wheeler has not competed, or there is not a class for the 3-wheeler in the actual Baja 1000. But I have an article about it, and so I'd like to make a video about that. Build a Baja rack, use an LED light. So anyway, I don't know where the phone just cut out, but I really would like to do a Baja look, and then kind of share that story, where I found it, where I read it at. It's really a fascinating story of this guy. He takes an 85 liquid cooled 250R, in essence, basically from the dealer, from the sales, from the dealership sales floor, enters it into the Baja 1000, wins his class, and beats like 4 other classes. It's a pretty cool story. Thank you, Yellow Beard. I appreciate that. I done gave the tires away, but I appreciate it nonetheless. That's very generous of you. Thank you. Yeah, that's what I was just talking about, Paul. I found a story. I'll tell you where it's at. It's not a secret or anything. If you'll go over to threewheelerworld.com, you'll have to it's deep. You'll have to hunt for it. It's not going to be in the post that you know, like people are posting every day. It's actually in like the old literature section where you'll find like brochures and sales ads and commercials. And so they've kind of got all of that history. It's still on that website, but it's kind of off to the left side. You'll have to look kind of down at the bottom. But there's a wonderful article about it. I've got it saved somewhere on my other computer in the office. And so I'll share that when I do a video. But I've always liked the Baja look. And that bike didn't come with a light. So I think it would be the perfect bike for that setup. All right, Wesco Pit Bike, I appreciate it. Thank you, sir. We're going to do another one. I've spoken to Curtie. Y'all know I'm sponsored by Curtie a little bit. He helps me out with my carburetors. And actually, he covers a lot of other things too. If y'all don't know, he's got fork boots. We did some fork boots on a 200X. Those come from 223 Cycles. Please be sure to go by there and say hi to him and visit his site and check it out. He's got tools, jet kits, rebuild kits for your carburetor. He's got replacement carburetors. If you don't have one, or maybe your machine came with an aftermarket carburetor and you want to improve and go to a little bit better grade carburetor, hands down, what you're going to find on Amazon, you know, the little $13 carburetor, $15 carburetor, that's not what you're going to compare when you go and look at what he's got over there. He's got some really nice quality carburetors. So be sure and check him out. He's always been, you know, a friend of the channel since day one, and so I will always support him. That's just somebody that extends that, you know, olive branch out to me, just goes a long way. And so I think a lot of Curtie. I think he's really good people. Y'all may see him on the channel. I'm actually going to go up and see him in a couple weeks. So thank you, Pat. I appreciate it. You're welcome for the giveaways and good three-wheeler people. It's a pleasure to talk to you, sir. And I've been watching your channel too now. You cover a lot of ground. Three-wheelers to guns. Pat's your guy right there. I watched, you did a review on a holster the other day. So thank you again, Pat. Brian, am I looking for parts for my 250R? I need a kickstart for a 350X. Is what I need. A kickstart lever. That would be good. Let's see, what else is there? Oh, how do you get on the list, Patrick? Well, you have to join the members only. If you look, should be directly under this screen here. You should see a white button with the blue letters join. You join that. It was a $6 entry. What that gets you, the entry is free, and I have to word it like this for legal reasons. You're paying to become a member, and that membership, I'm going to give you 2 stickers. The round one like that's on this shirt, by the way, my merch came out. Have y'all noticed? I got merch now. So I've got a round sticker, and then I've got the MRC build sticker. So I've got stickers out. If you join, Patrick, I will send you 2 stickers for joining. That gets you backstage pass basically to the members only content. I'll release videos early. I do special videos for members, things like that. And then you're automatically entered in the next raffle. And so that's how I have to word that, because you can't technically pay to be in a raffle. So that's how that works. But you're welcome. Thank you for the generous gift. I appreciate it, Patrick. I'll check those out. AMS zipper tires. I don't have any sand around here. Now, those of you that know, I'm building a track out back. I've started clearing land. I've got 2.5 acres back there. And so I started knocking trees down. There's going to be a video coming, I hope this weekend, for members only. And it's just me basically kind of going over the plan and then some backhoe tractor work. I've had 2 loads of trees hauled out this week. I've probably got another 6 to go. So what I'm doing is I'm knocking them down, digging the stumps out, because I like to keep them all together. And then I'm actually just stacking them up, and then I have a debris company basically come and I pay them to haul the trees off. Years and years ago I would burn the trees, but My neighborhood's grown up. It's me now, even though we're on large acreage. I would hate and feel terrible if a fire got carried away or something like that. So it's worth it to me to basically pay to have the trees hauled off. If I was only dealing with 1 or 2 trees, yeah, if I'm on 5 acres, I could burn it. But I'm dealing, I'm hundreds of trees, small ones like this to bigger ones like that. So Brian asked if I was looking for, let's see. Brian's telling me that there's got some places that sell ATV parts. Yeah, they're out there for sure. In this weekend's video, I'm going to highlight 2 guys that really helped me out with the 350X. One of them's got a YouTube channel. Be sure and check him out. I don't have his information in front of me. I believe the name, I don't even want to say it because it's wrong, but it's in the video this weekend. Y'all be sure and check him out. He's got a eBay store, specializes in ATC parts. He did me a solid and got me a rocker box when I needed it. And another gentleman is not in the business, but I gave him a big shout out. His first name is John, and he was able to get me a cam. Cams are hard to find. That's a rap song, I think. Cams are hard to find, something like that. So be mindful of that. If you've got a 350X, triple check your oiling system. Take the time to pull that right side cover off, clean that screen, make sure it's clean. Every oil change, I think you should do it every oil change. You got to make sure that thing stays lubricated. eBay is full of rocker boxes with rockers that the pads are completely shot. And so I reached out to Weld Cams, which is probably the biggest company out there that does refurbishing of cams. And you cannot buy a cam or a rocker arm off their shelf. You have to send them your cam or your rocker arm. They will weld it up and then change the profile to whatever you ask them to. They'll give you options of what profile, like a performance cam. So they're in essence taking your cam. That's your favorite song, yeah. Friends are hard to find. What's the song, Preston? I can't look it up right now. But they will actually, it's called regrinding your cam, and what they do is they weld it up and then they'll change the profile to a performance grind. But you can't order one, and so here I was with a 350X and a YouTube channel, and I'm trying to pump out videos in 7 days, and they tell me that it's a 10-week turnaround time to get a cam built up and reprofiled. And I was like, 10 days? And they said, no, 10 weeks. And I said, well, can you just sell me one and I send you mine as a core? And they said, no, we don't have any cores. So that's where we are with things right now. So take care of those cams and those 350Xs. Yes, Patrick, that's right. The 350D and the 350X is the same cam. I have a 350D in the white 350X, and I have a 350X cam in the red 350X. But you can't, I'm going to say you can't. Those cams in the 350Ds, the right people know, and so those are really hard to find too. Beard wants to know about different rear sprockets. I think the factory gearing is probably where you should stay unless you change tire sizes. So, the guys at Honda, they knew what they were doing. They're a lot smarter than me. I can't tell you that dropping a tooth here or there is going to, be better than what they come up with. But if you change tire sizes, then I think you should certainly change sprockets to compensate for that. That way the gearing stays the same, even though you've changed, in essence, the final drive of your machine. Let's just go extreme opposites here. If you've got a 18-inch tire on your machine and you go to a 25, your top end, you're going to be flying down the road, but you're going to have a lot less bottom end. So you want to put a bigger sprocket on there to give you that bottom end back. And so the exact would be the opposite. Yep. So the bigger the rear gear, the more torque you're going to have, the more leverage basically you're putting back there. So you're going to take off faster with a larger rear sprocket. The trade-off, and there's always a trade-off mechanically. The trade-off in that is you're going to top out. You're going to run out of gears. You've heard people shift really fast. It's just going to go wah, 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 and you'll be run out of gear, and your top speed's going to suffer. but you're gonna come out of the hole really fast. And so, that's why I would, more than likely, I will run a little smaller tire and get a little bit of performance on takeoff and not change the gear ratio. But if you go to a larger tire, you definitely want to change the gear ratio to get that torque back. It's the same thing if you deal with four-wheel drive trucks. You go putting 44s on a Jeep, you better put 513s in it or you're never going to leave the line with them 292s. So it's the same thing. I'm not familiar with them, Pat, bullet cams. I have to give them a call. Right now, I'm not in the market for a cam, and I'm thankful. But that's good to know. Pat, you did mention about a salvage yard out west, California. Last time we did a live, I think you mentioned it. I called them up, and they told me they did not have a 350X on the yard. So, just a heads up on that. That's tough, Patrick. That's tough. I mean, a T3, a Kawasaki, am I understanding you right? Beat you and you're on a 250R? That might be possible. I don't know, the 84 was not the 85, 86 T3 should have been the faster machine than the 84. You should have beaten him, I think. The low end is crap. Are you stumbling on the low end, Patrick? Is it carburation? Is that your problem? More so than gearing? That's a great way to do it, John. That's actually what saved this 350X. I bought a bottom end 350X from someone else for my first 350X, and it actually had the stator and the pickup that I needed for the second 350X. So yeah, I actually did a whole video on parts bikes. I think parts bikes are where the money's at, honestly. When it comes to saving, you bought a machine there that you probably could have got wheels and tires off of. You got motor parts off of. I mean, there's a lot of things that you could swap over. Bald OE tires. Okay. Well, if you got bald OE tires and you were spinning, spinning ain't winning, right? Yeah, second gen. That's a bucket list. If I run across one, I'll buy it. But I'm told it's nightmares to try to find parts for the 86, 87 T3s. Patrick, I mean, they're beautiful machines, but I think that Preston's got a friend of his trying to re-put one together now, and it's been a real struggle to find parts to refurb that machine. Heartland Salvage in Nebraska. Yep, that's right. Well, Pat, I called out. They didn't have anything. I mean, that's not to say, they just didn't have it that day when I called. But I appreciate you letting us know about that. And when I was searching for a rocker box, that was, I went back to that video. I fast forwarded through it until you were talking about it. And I gave them a call. But thank you for that. I like 20s. Pat Paul, I wouldn't run anything smaller. I have 18s on my 250R, and I'm going to say that was a mistake. I think 20s would have been better. I like to be in the upper RPMs, but not that much. I think the 20 would be the smallest thing I would put on a 250R, unless you re-gear it and you're doing something flat track in or something specialized. If you're just running the trails, I think the 18's too small. But, we all make mistakes. I did it. It's not the end of the world. No, I'm not. I saw those. Those look great. I'm not a restorer. Y'all know that. I'm kind of just a fixer. The price is really good on those tires, Patrick. You're paying a little bit of a premium, but you are getting the closest tire you're going to find to match that machine. And I'm told that, yeah, DNA Restorations, I'm told that he's going to do a release of the 350X tire coming up next. I think it's next year, but that's what I heard through the grapevine. I haven't heard him say that. I haven't heard Travis say that. But yeah, I like them. I think they're cool. Yep. You also got a height problem too. You're right, Paul. If you're out in the woods, 18s, you sit pretty low. Clifton, are you still here? Let's see if Clifton's still here. He was so excited, he might have unplugged the phone or something, lost his internet connection. There he is. All right. Have we messaged each other back? I want to make sure I have your contact information before I lose you. That's the one thing that YouTube does not have. YouTube does not have a way to communicate one-on-one in a private setting. I don't want you putting your address out in the public like that, so don't do that. But yeah, you can't private message on YouTube. That's one of the things, like on Instagram you can. Of course, Facebook you can. So I want to make sure I have your information, Clifton. So look through your private messages and see if you and I have had a conversation. Have you received your stickers? If you have, then I've got your address. Okay. Do you know what, we know what the factory size tire is for a 200S. Is that what you want the tires for? Or do you have another machine? Kane's back. Good. I hope everybody's got your stickers now. All the members, I've tried to be real good about getting those out to you. I think I've got, it's my duty to give you a value for your dollar. So, hey Emilio, hey, you just joined today, sir. Welcome and thank you. Good deal. Well, y'all know what I'm working on, what stickers. Well, Brian, all of the members that join the members club, I give you 2 stickers. Thank you, Pat. It's a pleasure talking to you as always. We will do it again, I'm sure. Oh, okay. I'm trying to catch up with the chat, Clifton. Okay, so the 200S. Okay, well, I'm gonna when I get off of this tonight, I'm gonna message you, and let's go back and forth and kind of pick out a tire that you like. So if you want, you can get on Amazon and start looking around if you're looking for a knobby, or if you're looking for a more aggressive or a less aggressive tire. You let me know. So we'll talk in just a few minutes when I sign off here, about 10 minutes. Brian, if you look underneath the window of this video, there's a new button that says join. You can click on that button. It's a white button, but it has the blue word join. If you click on that button, it's $6 to join the membership. That gets you content strictly for members. There's videos, there's special videos for y'all. There's videos released earlier for y'all. I give everybody that joins 2 stickers. I'll show them to you. It's these. Oop, there you go. So they're 4-inch stickers. You can put them on your car, your truck, your machine, wherever you want to put them. So I give everybody those. Everybody gets 2. And then, you know, it's when I want to do a couple of drawings, you know, a year. This, of course, is the first one, so it's going to be a bigger one. I'm working with Curtie now at 223 Cycles. We're probably going to do carburetor kits and fork boots and things like that in upcoming months. So that's you know, that's what the $6 gets you. So thank you, Paul. Thank you for joining. I appreciate that. Oh, if you like the shirts, all right, Jared. If you look down below, that's something new. Now, I just got mine in. This is the first one. These are the first run. What you do is you can click on the link underneath the photo, and that'll take you to basically the online store. And there you can pick different. I've got 3 different designs. You can pick the color of the shirt, and then you can figure out which design you want on it. So you can actually make your own shirt that way. So it works out pretty good. I'm trying to read here. Oh, great, Pat. Yeah, you did get your stickers. So let's see. This is one of the shirts I've got out right now. I like it. This has got number 26 on it. This is my number 26 bike. This one's a little bit different. If you look really close, right underneath the seat, right? Probably. They're Fruit of the Loom brand. They're lightweight. I have not ordered a hoodie yet, but you can get hoodies, coffee cups, which I have that, and then t-shirts, tank tops, things like that. But yeah, check it out. See what you think. Well, so Pat, let me explain how the membership works. So YouTube started, once you get to a certain kind of platform in your channel, they allow you to start memberships, and they wanted me to have 3 or 4 different levels of memberships. I'm a how-to channel. I couldn't see making content for 4 different levels of 4 different groups of people. That would require so much more of my time. And then I would feel obligated to create that content and to give people a value for their dollar. And I just couldn't see having a weekly channel already and then come out on top of that with 4 other layers of content. So what I decided to do is I just did 1 layer, 1 level. It doesn't matter. Everybody's on an equal playing field. I didn't want to play favorites. Well, this guy gave me, more money than this guy. So, I'm going to give him more stuff. I know that's how it works on everybody else's channel and stuff. I just got 1 level. I just happened to name it 350X because I actually started out with 2, and so I didn't know how I was going to set it up, but I wanted them on equal playing field. So the name is kind of it's just what it is. It's just a 350X. There's only 1 level to join at, and so everybody's treated the same. I just didn't want to treat people differently. Everybody's the same, and I didn't have time to make multiple layers of content. So right now I'm making 2 layers of content. The weekly, public, everybody sees it, video, and I try to do also a weekly or at least a bi-weekly members only content. And I try to make that different. It's not just how-tos, it's tractor work, and I'm building out the shop. We've talked about that, and just different things I'm working on. If y'all find it interesting, that's great, but I also try to give you an incentive. I give you the decals, that's on me, that has nothing to do with YouTube. That's why I'm asking for your address so I can send it to you. The giveaways is on me, that has nothing to do with YouTube either. So it's just me trying to provide a value for y'all's dollar. Because I know, the dollar's a dollar. So, Patrick, if you want, I will try to make a 250R level if it will allow me to make a level that's equal to the 350X. So I hope that explains it. But that's how that all came about. I just didn't see making multiple different layers of content for different price points and still try to have a weekly channel. There was just too much. I still have a full-time job and a family and all that kind of good stuff. Fair enough. I'm that guy. Hey, it's not a problem. You know, two strokes are still kind of new to me. I've had a whole lot more four strokes than I ever have two strokes. How you doing, Howard? Welcome to the channel. 200S is a popular machine. They pop up quite regular. I like the 200S. That's what Clifton has, is 200S. So it's funny, you know, the 185 through all the way through the 200X, the similarities, you know, it's pretty much the exact same engine. Yeah, it's a little different, but that 200cc engine, you can get it in a 200S, a 185S basically. You can get it in an ATC 200, you can get it a 200E, 200ES, 200X. I mean, that platform is just bulletproof. Well, YouTube, I'm replying to Brian's comment there. I don't know what YouTube thinks, honestly. You're in a competition whether they want to admit it or not. It's your channel versus everybody else's channel. And from that point on, you get out what you put in. And so it's tougher than I thought it was, or would be. You would have think 7 days you could come up with another idea for a video and film it, and you would, you know, bing bang and you're done. No, it ain't like that. I mean, this video coming out this weekend, I've probably got 10 hours. That's 10 hours. That's 10 real hours. You know, whether it's filming, working, editing the video, posting the video, making the thumbnail, all of that. I'm not complaining, but it's just a lot more than I ever thought it would have been. I really thought you set the camera up, you hit record, and you're done. But it's nothing like that. That's just a small part of it. Paul said he's got a 200X that has more compression and a different profile cam, I believe. Yes, now there are performance cams. We talked about cams earlier. You may, I don't know, there's so many unknowns in what you stated there. It could be a performance cam from back in the day, if that's what you're getting at. I'm even told that a 185S has a performance gain, that cam has a performance gain over a 200. But a 200X cam has a performance gain over a regular 200 also. So you can mix and match. I have a 200E Big Red engine, that's the high-low chain drive, that I put a 200X top in on because I had it. So there are gains to be made there, mixing and matching factory parts, but places like Comp Cam and others, they made performance cam for the 200X for sure. As well as pistons. You can get pistons for that machine. A pop-up piston, they make a performance piston for it. You could do port and polish on the head if you wanted to get into that. Of course, you know they make aftermarket exhausts and intakes. You can go to a larger carburetor on that machine too. I got you, Paul. My phone's going in and out. Yes, the 200X cam is a performance gain over a 185S and a 200S. And you can stick that 200X cam in either of those machines. Hey Brian, yeah, I just try to be me. You know, I'm not a mechanic. I'm not a YouTuber per se. I just try to be your neighbor next door guy that likes to turn wrenches. And I hope that comes across that way. I think I had a buddy tell me when I first started doing this, he says, you got to be real or they will see right through you. You know, you start lying and doing stuff like that, people will find out and you won't be on here very long. So, but thank you for the compliment. I appreciate it. Willie boy just got here. Well, you missed the big giveaway, Willie. You missed it. You missed all of it. We've been hanging out for an hour. Thank you for coming. I appreciate it. Howard Keys, you're looking for a 250 SX, is that what you're thinking? I haven't tried that, Pat. That'd be a new one. There's a lot of part swappings that can be done. I've learned that. There's a lot of case bottoms, all kinds of stuff. It's cams, top ends, the cylinders. There's guys taking, now it takes a little machine work. I haven't done it. Taking the entire top end, the cylinder and everything from a 200X and sticking it on a 185S. Now my understanding is you have to mill the case to receive that jug, but they were doing it or can do it. So there's a lot of neat stuff out there. There really is. 250 to a 3 gun. Now I know that a lot of 250 ES big reds, the rear axles are getting cut out of them basically to save TRX 300 rear axles. That the ring and pinion in a 300 is not that good. And so what guys are doing is a direct bolt in, because I've sold one. I had a parts big red that I parted it out and the motor was completely locked up on it, so forgive me. But I sold the rear end out from underneath it and he was sticking it in a 300. It's a bolt-on deal. So thank you, Kane. I appreciate that. A channel for part swapping? I don't know enough to keep a whole channel going. Preston, you and Willie, y'all missed it all. Willie just got here too. Willie Boy 09 just got here. No, here's what I want. I want Preston on here one day. I want to do it between the two trikes with Preston. Y'all have to pressure him to do that. We've just been hanging out. We've been talking about cams, Preston. Tire swapping and cam swapping. All that good stuff. Me too. There's about 19 hours of travel time between us. Oh, Paul, I'm not that good, man. I'm not a Jeopardy. I couldn't do that. Preston would win that hands down. Here's what we gotta find, Pat, to pull that off. What I'd like to do is to be able to do a split screen. And he could be on one side and I could be on the other. And so that would be pretty cool. You would have the history and then the mechanics of three-wheelers all in one, screen there. I don't know if a Zoom would kind of work, but then it would have to be recorded between he and I. And then with YouTube, who's going to upload it? Would we both upload it? It would, I don't know how to do it. I need some 12-year-old to tell me how to do it because I'm getting too old for computers, apparently. Willie Boy's got a big red. Yeah, you got the big one, the 85. That's a great machine. Now, Willie, I tell you, I put some 22s on a big red, and I thoroughly enjoyed that. It depends on how you ride your big red. 25s give you more ground clearance, but I was kind of slinging it around the corners a little bit, and the 22 on the rear lowered that machine down about 2 inches, gave it a little bit wider footprint, and it actually handled pretty good considering how big that machine is. The 250 ES Big Red is a big machine to throw around. Not suggesting it per se, but I've done it. I have an 85. It's neglected out in the shop, but I have one. Kane, I can't look at an email right now or I'll lose the feed on my phone, buddy. I'll have to look at it later. I think you have that backwards, Paul. Is the 250 SX, isn't it geared lower than the 250 ES? Or do I have it backwards? I don't know the trivia. Okay. I have both. The SX is quicker. I don't know about top speed, but the SX takes off quicker. But I contribute a lot of that. I know the gearing is different. That's a common thing, you know. But the tire size, I think, also adds to that. You have 22s on the SX and you have 25s on the ES. Yeah, 1 tooth difference. Okay. So that's pretty minimal. Yeah, that's the difference. I think it's the tire size is as big a difference as anything else. You put the 22s on the ES and it will change how that machine handles across the board. I'm still learning too, Willie. It's every day I tear one of these things apart, I see something different, something new. Yeah, I'm with you, Pat. I think it's the tires. You got less weight, you've got less rolling resistance, you've got, that's a gear ratio change by itself, just having a smaller diameter tire, even if the gearing was exactly the same. I think the tire size has as much or more to do with the way the SX takes off. The SX really, it wants to wheelie as much or more as these performance machines behind me. That can be a really fun machine. Ooh, man, that's a good question, Kane. First, Kane wants to know, that's gonna make me think. Kane wants to know what's the first thing I look at when I buy a machine. Wow. Well, I'll say overall condition. General overall condition. So are the fenders OE or are they reproductions that somebody just put on there to make it look good? How's the seat look? Is it really beat down and wore out? Has the machine been wrecked? Is it sit straight? How the tires look? You know, I don't have a problem with worn tires because that tells me that the machine was used. You know, it did run, it did perform. You know, tires is an easy fix. So that's really tough. There you go, Pat. There's 46 pounds difference. That's a lot too, because you're dealing with a machine that barely has, how much horsepower does that machine have? Not that much. That's a good one, Brian. Check the oil. That's a good front end too, Matt. You can put a 200X on there too, which is a little easier to find probably. First thing to check. Man, that's a tough question. I want to hear it. I really don't like when I look at ads, and I drove an hour and 15 minutes or so to look at a 200X that looked really good. The guy told a great story. He had a title, he had a leather tank bag, he had good pictures. The pictures looked good. They were at a distance. The machine looked good. When I got there, it was all the things that picture couldn't tell me. The front wheel bearings were shot, the rear carrier was shot, the sprockets really were shot. It smoked like a freight train, the kicker slipped. It was all those things, you know, and so I didn't buy it. I didn't even make the guy an offer. He was way high on the price. I look at the title, and the title doesn't match the bike. I mean, completely different numbers. It wasn't even an ATC title. The leather tank bag, I didn't even get that far. But I went to get that machine because it had a title, and in the state of Florida, that's important. And the title was bogus. And so that, on top of the machine being a really bad off, I mean, you can take the handlebar and just go like this with it, and the frame would sit there and do this inside the rear axle. I mean, it was shot. But that looks funny because I can see that what I just did, and I'm about 2 seconds behind on my laptop than what I'm actually looking at y'all. So it's kind of funny to watch it in delay. But yeah, I didn't buy that machine. I wasted, half a day basically. But better that than buying the machine and being, disappointed in that. I'd rather have my money in my pocket than buy a machine that I wasn't happy with. Now, I actually talked to the guy 2 days ago that bought that machine. He got it for a very good price because once I got there and I was like, well, the title's no good, the leather tank bag ain't no good, and the machine needs this, and this. He realized that he wasn't going to get his $3,000 he was asking for it. And so he dropped the price. It sat on Marketplace for another couple of weeks, and a guy bought it. And I actually met that guy on threewheelerworld.com. He was asking some questions, and the questions he was asking were just way too familiar with the bike I just looked at. And so I messaged him. I said, the bike you got, did it come from here? And he was like, yeah. And so he's like 3 hours or 2 hours from me. And so he sent me a picture of it. It's up and running. He's gone through it already. He's been busy, and it's needed everything. But he's turned it into a solid machine. So it's 84. I've talked too much and didn't read. Hold on just a second. That was a really good question, Kane. I'm sorry I can't give you a more precise answer. It just really depends on the machine. A sport machine, I'm going to look at different things than a utility machine. So, sorry. But yeah, overall condition as a whole, and then I'll start scrutinizing what else it could be. Frame cracks is a big one. I did a video early on about a 185S, frame cracks and frame rust and common rust points and breaking points. The 350X is known for having a weak frame. I don't think the frame itself is really weak. I think the 350X was rode and jumped more so than probably what the frame maybe was designed for. Maybe they were pushing the limits. I guess what I'm trying to say is I think they designed it as a great frame for trail riding and fast speeds and things like that. I don't think the designers really thought that frame was going to be going, 25, 30 foot in the air. And so I think that's where the limitations come from. I have both of the 350Xs behind me. The frames are great. I don't think they've ever really been jumped. And that's what I mean by that. I think the frames are fine depending on how they're used. Fair enough, I think. Matt, when you're out there at 15 years ago, the market changes weekly. Me and Preston were talking about that just the other day. The market kind of goes with the politics, if you will. I'm not talking about politics in general, but I'm talking about the news. If the news on TV is bad, people maybe aren't necessarily buying, toys. And so the market changes. I think it's going down now from where it was years ago. I think COVID prices were higher, the demand was higher. People were being given free money and told to stay at home. And if you had land, you could get a three-wheeler pretty cheap and ride compared to a four-wheeler or a side-by-side or something like that. And so I think that demand was artificial because it was, it was kind of popped up or, built up from free money. And now that free money's gone, people are back at work, COVID is behind us, and I think now the reality of some other issues are up, and that of course affects the market. Let's see. Well, Willie, you know, check out videos. There's a lot of other guys on there on YouTube that are doing how-tos. Just Google what you're experiencing, and you'll find what you're looking for. There's a lot of information out there. Download the manuals, please, everybody. Download all the manuals if you want. I do. I've got every single manual that they have downloaded, saved to my phone and to my computer. I don't know what I'm going to own next, but I want to have the manual in case the manuals are no longer available. So please do that. They're free. There's no reason not to have a manual. And to ask, I'm sorry, let's see. You will answer your own questions so much faster with a manual, especially digital on your phone. You can search. You can use search function on some of it. You can, go through there. It has electrical, mechanical. It'll give you things like what weight of oil is recommended for your machine. It will tell you tolerances on chains. It will tell you torque specs on bolts and nuts. Those kinds of things you might not necessarily pick up watching me, because I don't tell you that I can't keep it all straight. But everybody should have a manual for the machine they own, or even the machine they want to own. I find it fun to read them, honestly. I know that sounds funny, but I'll read a manual for something I don't even own, and I'll find similarities, and I'll say, oh, I see, I got to take that off to get to that. Well, that's good to know if I ever run into that problem. So when I was younger, I would get the LMC catalog, which they would do Chevy trucks and Camaros and things like that, and they would show you the exploded view of all the parts that they sold. But from a mechanic standpoint, that exploded view tells you, oh, there's a gasket here and a seal there and a washer there, and so you could learn how something, a larger part was assembled by a lot of smaller parts. So anyways, I find that kind of stuff fun. Y'all have been chatting up a storm over here. Willie's asking value on a part. Willie, that's gonna, I don't know. I would say you're saying a perfect seat. So I'm going to give you the answer for a perfect seat for a 250 ES. Depending on what year, if it's black, probably $200. If it's gray, which I think, was it Preston? Where are you at, Preston? I think it's gray. That makes it an 87 or an 88 maybe. I don't know. But the grays are less, so they're more expensive, maybe $250, $300 is what I would think that's what I would sell it for. If you say it's in perfect condition. Snippa, I remember the name, buddy. You have a 200X. Well, yeah, you need to get it out. Winter's coming. Where do I download the manuals? OscarMayer.com. I don't have it on this computer. You can go to threewheelerworld.com. You can type in manuals, and you will follow a link, but it will take you to an OscarMayer.com website. If you look in the descriptions, or you look on watch my videos, almost every single video I put that link in there. All right, good night, King. Good to see you. There you go. See, Preston knows. He's got the history. So Preston says an 86, 87, 250 ES has a dark gray seat, and an 88 has a light gray seat. So so I know the 85 is a black seat. Depending on what year your seat is in perfect condition is going to affect how rare it is, and therefore how valuable it is. Now y'all might not know this, but Preston's got a surprise coming. Y'all need to pay attention to his channel now. He's got something coming. I'm not going to tell you. He's got something coming that's going to it's going to open some eyes, and it's going to change. It's going to change how we refer to things. Let's say that. Oh, well, thank you, Willie. I appreciate it. I just hanging out in the shop. I mean, that's it. That's what I'm talking about, Brian. What is Preston's channel? he don't know. Well, Preston is also This Old Trike. He commented right underneath you. And that's the name of his channel, is This Old Trike. You get some popcorn and have a seat when you turn his channel on. It's gonna blow your mind. Now, Matt, that's a I don't know if you can talk about that 87R. That's a sore subject for a lot of folks. There was a guy on Facebook a couple of weeks ago. He was promoting an 87R until he got cornered, and enough people asked him to show the VIN number, and then he exited the forum. Trying to go back up here and see if we missed any good questions. Neil Casey, do I have a favorite trike? That answer, it's changed over the years. Be honest, I really like the 84 200 ES Big Red. For a utility machine, it would be my first pick. I don't care for the 250 ES. It's not my favorite. I like the SX. It's sportier feeling. It's still considered somewhat of a utility / sport machine. It's in the running, but the two behind me, the 350X, I'm really kind of falling for, and the 250R I've wanted for so long. It's going to be my favorite for a very long time. If I had to pick just one, I would probably pick the 250R. It checks all the boxes for me. I'm really enjoying working on these 350Xs. I've enjoyed riding them. I like the pull and the power of a 350X is very consistent. You give it a little throttle, and that's all you're going to get. You give it more, you get more. I like that consistency with that. The 250R, I'm going to be honest with you, it scares me a little bit. You can give it half throttle, and if it kicks in, and you're gone. And it's a little unpredictable. The riding position of the 250R I like better. I sit a little lower on the 250R. I feel more comfortable, if that makes any sense. I think the suspension on the 250R is a little bit better. On the same trail that I have here at the house, the 250R, even though the forks are blew out on it and they need to be redone, it still rides more controllable, maybe, if that's possible. It feels better to me. This is all personal opinion. Preston's going to tell you that the 350X is a better machine. That's his favorite. The 250R feels really good for me. It's a little bit smaller. I think the biggest difference let's not talk about power or how it comes on. The 250R is lighter feeling. I've never had it on a scale. Somebody can look that up if you want. The 250R feels lighter to me, and therefore it feels more controllable for me compared to the 350X. So that's going to be my pick. If I have to pick one, it'd be the 250R. Favorite. So, hey everybody, Larry Mitchell is in here. Do y'all know who that is? I'm going to call him out if he's going to pop in here like that. So, Larry Mitchell is my uncle. He's halfway up the chat right now, and he is my partner in crime. He's my secret weapon. I travel around to get these machines on my days off, and any machine that is west of me, I generally go by and pick up my Uncle Larry, and we are we have a lot in common. He is a pleasure to be around, and we have a great time. So he and I, we run the back roads together looking for old three-wheelers. And I'll tell you a quick story on Uncle Larry. We went and looked at one, and it was just, I mean, it was a mess. It was a complete, I don't know how it ran. I mean, if it wasn't a Honda, it wouldn't have been running. It was a pile of junk. And so we're coming back, and Larry said, junkyard and see if they have one. And I'm thinking, the junkyard's not going to have a three-wheeler. I mean, they've scrapped it. They've junked it back in the 80s. Why would there be a three-wheeler at a junkyard? And he says, no, let's go check it out. So okay, so I whip in there, and we go there, and he knows the guy. This junkyard is near his home, his hometown, and he knows the guy, and he says, you wouldn't happen to have a three-wheeler around here, would you? And the guy that runs the junkyard, he said, yeah, I got one. It's right here behind the building. And I kid you not, we go around the building, and it is an all original 200S. The fenders are great on this machine. It needed a seat, and the motor was there. The tires were there, but they were flat. It had been driven around. There was tracks. They had moved this thing with a Bobcat skid steer. This thing was just, it shouldn't have been there. And so you go, wow, you found a three-wheeler in a junkyard. Well, it gets better. So we go back to the front, and I'm thinking, well, I don't want to take my eyes off of this thing because somebody's going to crush it. You know, it's sitting in the middle of a junkyard. And so Larry goes up to the owner, and he says, now what's scrap weight on something like that? And I paid that man $15 for that three-wheeler scrap weight. And we rolled it home, rolled it in the back of the truck. I got it home and had it running that evening. I kid you not, $15. And so that's a true story. But it doesn't have the Lamborghini. But yeah, that's Uncle Larry. We have a ball together. It generally costs me lunch for him to go ride around with me, but we have a great time, and he is well worth it. So. He's retired, so he actually, some of the leads I find is because he sends them to me. I'll be at work, and I'll get a text message from him. I don't think Larry has a Lamborghini, but he does have a brand new Kubota. But Larry's family, and so I've enjoyed spending time with him. Handlebars for an 83 250R, Jared wants to know. Let's see, so that's going to be second gen, is that right? I think Pro, what's the name of the company? Help me out here, somebody. Oh no, Preston, you're mistaken. Pro Taper, thank you, sir. Yeah, Pro Taper makes a good bar. No, that's the different uncle there, Preston. Yeah, Pro Taper makes a good bar. I think Moose used to make a good bar. I don't know if they still do or not. Moose, like the animal. They make a good bar. you know, it's one of those things. I have a hard time with that. Like the bars here on my 250R are nasty. I got brand new grips for that machine. I can't put them on them bars. You know what I mean? So do I put aftermarket bars on there that don't look right so I can put new grips on it, or what? You know. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these bars and sandblast them and paint them and put them back on the machine. That's not always an option, but I think I can save those. But I know what you're saying. It's yeah, it's a second gen. I would probably look at a Pro Taper bar. That's a 31 millimeter, 30 millimeter. I can't remember, but it's a good brand. Well, I'm not going to say Larry gets me in trouble, Pat, but he could. He could if I let him. The most dangerous three. Well, Preston did a video on a Fat Cat, which he deemed the most dangerous vehicle. You're specific about which three-wheeler is the most dangerous. Well, the 250R probably holds that title. It's when that power band comes on, if you're not prepared for it, or if you're not expecting it, or it comes on in a corner or something and you didn't think it was going to happen, it's going to try to lead you. It just hands down. It's a lot of machine. I have gotten, thankfully, I've not gotten hurt, but the closest I come to getting hurt was on a 200X, and that was because I felt like I knew, you know, it was a smaller machine, it had less power, I could probably push the envelope a little bit harder on that machine. And I just about put it in a clump of trees. And so, but that was my fault. You know, I mean, it's always operator fault, but yeah, I think that's just going to come down to the rider. Paul, he likes his ATV bend. Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't get to that. When you're ordering your handlebars, look at the bend on the grip angle. And so you're going to see high risers and low risers and mid bars. So on these, most of these I've seen people say they get a mid bar, because a low bar is almost straight. So you get a mid rise bar, and then you get an ATV bend, which kind of is the angle that your grips would be. It doesn't sound like it'd be that big a difference, but it really is. I've seen guys that they'll have handlebars that are probably 6 inches in height of elevation, because those are like a high-rise bar. And then I've got machines that have brought in where the grip angle was turned so much that it was uncomfortable. You know, to hit a bump and your wrist are turned all the way. You know, almost, me personally, I kind of like a motocross bike where the bars are almost straight. Now that's just me, and that's, you know, everybody's going to have their own personal preference. But you grow up on what you're used to and what you like. Pat, I wouldn't disagree with the 81 250R being dangerous, only because, and the reason being is because it's such a small machine. It's not very wide, and it's not very long either. I mean, it's a handful. I've only been on one briefly, but I didn't really like it. All right, Mr. Preston, you have a good evening. Appreciate you coming by. We'll talk later. Yeah, broken collarbones are synonymous with three-wheelers. It's just, when it tips, the first thing you want to do is put your arm down or pull your arm in, and you get that shoulder. And collarbones are really bad about that. Willie is hard hitting. Are you a reporter, Willie? Is that what you do? Willie wants to know the most common mistake you make upgrading your three-wheeler, do you think? I'm gonna say any upgrade that takes the usability away from your machine. Same with cars, same with trucks. If you do an upgrade to your equipment to where it's not as usable as it once was, then you've made a mistake. I've made them, others, everybody, that messes with stuff does eventually. You take a four-wheel drive truck and you jack it up so high you can't drive down the road no more, it's too big. You take a race car that's got so much duration in the cam that you don't have good brakes, you went too far. You got a three-wheeler that you've done all this work to and now it's a real pain to start, then you've went too far. So I think any modification you do, if it takes away from the practicality or usability of your machine, is a mistake. Now that's an old man telling you that, because when I was 18, I would have been like, no, it can't be too big, it can't be too fast, and it don't matter how hard it is to start. But at 49, I will tell you they can be too big, they can be too fast, and they can be so hard to start that you don't ride them. I didn't ride that machine for a year because I couldn't get it to start. Mistakes. We live and we learn. Yes, user, I did. Our winner was Clifton Beasy, which I need to message him. I broke this arm in two places on a four-wheeler. So, but I have never broke anything on a three-wheeler yet, so that's good. Yeah, he was. He was. Well, I tell you what, gentlemen. Well, we'll do this again, Willie, and please download the manuals. That's the best way you're going to learn. If you want to learn mechanics, especially three-wheelers, download the manual. And when you're sitting inside and you can't work on it or whatever, grab that manual and scroll through it. You'd be amazed at what you can pick up, which will save you time and effort and frustration when you do get back in front of the machine, because you'll be like, oh yeah, I remember that. I saw that in the manual. That's on page 26. So, all right, Clifton. Well, I need to message you, sir. I'm going to call it a night. So, I'm going to message you here in just a minute. Let me look, Willie. I'm not on my regular machine, so Instagram. Hold on, let me look it up because that's important. Y'all bear with me. There it is. Okay, Willie, follow that link. That will take you to the ATC manuals page, and you will see every manual for every three-wheeler there. You will see the operator's manual, and you also see the mechanic's manual on a lot of them. So y'all take that link and save it to your phone, save it to your computer, and download the manual that applies to you, or all of them for that matter. And if y'all ever run across him, Oscar Mayer, that's a real dude. He's on the Honda Hoarders on the Facebook. I actually bumped into him the other day. It's a pleasure to talk to him. He knew who I was, and he knew I recommended his site. So he was pretty cool about that. But yeah, thank him for posting that, because that is a ton of information. He doesn't have to do that. The manuals are free. Yeah, follow that link. The manuals are free. See, I'm just giving up all my secrets. Well, I try, Willie. I appreciate it. All right, people, I appreciate it. Thank y'all for hanging out with me. Again, Clifton, I'm going to message you here in just a minute. You lucky man tonight. We're going to get you some tires, and when you get them, I want you to send me a picture of either them by the machine or on the machine, and I'll put it in a video. So, Pat, it was good to see you again. Thank you, sir. I appreciate all of y'all joining the members section. We're going to try to keep that going. We're going to try to keep doing some giveaways, and I'll keep the content, coming out for y'all early or first, or even have your own stuff. No, I'm not going to take them with me, Matt. I'll give them up before then. Good night, Paul. Pleasure speaking to you, sir. Thanks for joining tonight. I've been to Lexington, Kentucky. How you doing, Chris? Good night, everybody. Y'all have a great weekend. Sunday, 6 o'clock, should have a video out. It'll be this 350X here. It's running, finally, and I even get to ride it. Unfortunately, it's at night, so you're just going to see a light running around. But that's it. So y'all check that out Sunday at 6 as always, and I will talk to y'all very soon. Take care. Clifton, I'll be messaging you just a second. Good night.